The second tool that can help you to improve your line art is the Adjust Line Width tool. You can find this tool down here where the pinch vector line is, just down here, okay? Adjust Line Width. Again, you can see many parameters down here, but we're going to use basically two, thicken and narrow. What this does, as you can imagine, is it thickens or narrows your line width, which is incredible. It's almost magical because it does it in a way that looks very convincing, very natural. But please note that this tool only works with vector lines, so it only works if we are using a vector layer, just as the other tool that we saw before, the pinch vector tool, or any other tool in this panel correct line tool. Okay, so make sure that you are using vector lines if you want to use any of these tools. To compare the results, I will just first duplicate this layer, okay, and I will hide the layer below so we can compare the results in the new layer. What I like to do is press, go across the line, and then release. Maybe you cannot see what happened, but if you do it a few times, you'll see the line getting thicker and thicker. Can you see? Let's compare it with the layer below. Off, on, off, on. Okay, this is an entirely optional step, and sometimes I don't do it. Okay, I guess it depends on your art style, but I guess it's good to know that there's this trick, there's this option to add or to remove line width to your lines. Okay, basically what most artists do is to increase the weight of the lines on the contour of the figure, the silhouette of the figure, the outer lines, let's say, something like this, to make the character easier to read. At least that's the theory, but many artists don't do that. For example, if you check the art of Mike Mignola, one of my favorite references, I don't think he does any of this. I think he uses the same line width for all his characters, all his lines. So then again, this is optional and it's up to you when to use it. But basically, this is what you'll get. Okay, let's see again. On, off, on, off, on, off. Something that I like to do sometimes, like in this case, for example, is try to play with this tool to see how it would look if I increase the weight of these lines here to make it darker. What do you think? Let's check. Off, on, off, on. I don't know. Yeah, it's okay. I like it. Or sometimes it's good to add some weight in the parts that will be shadowed later. For example, I think that the chin here will project some shadow and the mustache also. I think adding some weight to these lines can be a good idea. Maybe also the eyebrows. As you have seen, I have to go through the lines many times for the difference to be noticeable. You can change that if you go to this parameter here and you increase the value. But I think if you increase it too much, it doesn't look that natural. Let's try. For example, let's say I choose 1.5 and then I go over this line. You see the increments are higher, but it can get out of control very quickly. So that's why I like operating with lower values. Okay, so let's compare once again. This is the version with the thicker lines. This is the normal version. Okay, well, as you can see, there's not a big difference, but this can help you to give your characters a more professional look and to make them easier to read. So that's all I wanted to say about this tool. Of course, I didn't show it, but you can use the narrow command to do the same, but to get the opposite result. You will narrow your lines. Let's try it here, for example. You see? But this is not what I want, so I leave it as it is. Most of the time, I just use the thicken option. Here you can see more examples of characters in the inking phase. As you can see, the finish is quite clean and precise. My style is angular, expressive, and somewhat unrealistic, so it benefits greatly from strong inking and simple expressive lines. Your style may require a different type of lines, perhaps finer or in softer colors. Of course, feel free to experiment with other styles, but this inking technique will be extremely useful if you're aiming for a cel shading, manga, or more or less orthodox comic style. Now that you know all the techniques for inking, I invite you to work on inking your character. I recommend that you pay special attention to practicing and exploring the possibilities of inking with vector lines so you can appreciate their usefulness. Developing mastery of these vector techniques will save you a lot of time in the long run and help you achieve professional results in a short time. Also, take the opportunity to integrate the selection and ortho selection tools into your inking and drawing process. And if you feel your style can benefit from it, experiment with the line width adjustment tool, as you've seen me doing in this video.